This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Dawes.
Hello, welcome to another Partners in Crime. Very formal introduction.
It was. Hello, Adam Croft. How are you?
I'm very well, Robert Dawes. Thank you very much. How are you?
Well, quite bonny, thanks. Quite bonny. It's been a very jolly week. Charging around all over the place. Been up and down to London. Took the kids down to London. Kids? Who am I kidding? One of them's taller than I am. And she's only 16.
And she's only 4'11".
No, the fact is, I'm shrinking. So yeah, we had a very jolly day down in London. One of those school holiday days. Went to the South Bank, which is extraordinary. I realised I hadn't been to the South Bank for ages and ages and ages. I mean, years. And it's just the most fantastic place. Walking along, we got off at Embankment and crossed the bridge there, Charing Cross, and got down at the festival hall and walked onto the National Theatre and right across there. And it's fantastic, and there's so many stalls there.
A great little pub there as well. It's I can't remember what it's called. The only way I can describe it is it's up the steps.
Up the steps.
It's literally right on the South Bank, right on the river, but it's
I know it well.
Raised.
Yes, Doggets.
I don't know.
I think it's Doggets. I know that.
Not very good for disabled access.
No, but I filmed there actually. There was a scene where we were filming up there, and I had to look at Keith Allen, or more to the point, his stunt double, jump off of the bridge and into the Thames.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think it's the Doggets you're thinking. It's further down. That's it. A modern sort of pub, isn't it? Looking pub with sort of nice outside areas, balconies looking over the Thames. I mean, it's great views of London.
Yeah, it's sort of glass fronted, and it's lovely to sit there and look out of the river. Yeah,
but I mean, the whole of that area is just fantastic. So anyway, that was then. And we went to the National Gallery to see some Van Gogh. Constable and stuff like yes, very high, very highbrow,
bit of inspiration maybe.
Yes. So we ended up having a pizza and burger at the end of the day. So
and did a painting by numbers.
Us nicely.
I did a painting by numbers.
Well, that's about my level.
Back to reality.
I have to say. Anyway,
McDonald's and painting by numbers. There we are. Yeah, well, I haven't been up to a hell of a lot really. My usual life continues. I've been looking through the crime fiction news stories though, as I have to do for this particular job. And some of the things I found, we talked recently about how every newspaper, every website seems to have their must-read lists about this time of year when you're going on holiday, which of course the publishers are coercing particular publications into doing to try and push the books that they want to push this time of year, which is all fair enough. The latest one I found was the Seattle Times, up there in the northwest of the States.
You're good at geography, aren't you? Well done. And of course, the home of Fraser.
I thought I'd give a little pause there, just so that you could appreciate it.
I am. It took a second to land, but yeah.
I do like Google Maps.
Yes.
And they recommended their 5 crime fiction reads of the summer: Lady in the Lake by Laura Lippman. There's lots of L's in there. A Dangerous Man by Robert Crace. A Nice Cup of Tea by Celia Imrie. A Better Man by Louise Penny. And The Shameless by Ace Atkins. That was what Adam Woog in the Seattle Times recommends.
So that's what they're reading in the northwest of America.
That's what they're trying to get people to read in the northwest of America anyway.
Oh, did you say there's a Nice Cup of Tea by Celia Imrie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Well, yes. Can I recommend anything by Celia? She's absolutely wonderful. Apart from being a great actress, she's a terrific writer. And what did you say? This terrific British actress is no slouch as a writer, as this droll, warm-hearted novel proves. 5 expats living the good life on France's Mediterranean coast are having a number of problems, from online reviews sabotaging their restaurant to kidnapping and cranky delivery men. To avoid financial ruin, they try to sell off a Picasso mosaic set in the restaurant floor. The Picasso estate is not amused. Well, that sounds like a very jolly romp, especially this year. If you're heading to the Mediterranean, why not take Celia Imrie's A Nice Cup of Tea? There's a little bit of crime there. We can justify mentioning that because the word kidnapping is in the description.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a nice holiday read, that one, doesn't it?
Yes.
And, well, it's in the Seattle Times top 5 crime fiction books to look forward to in August, so hopefully it does count as crime. Something else I noticed is a story we've covered probably for the last few weeks, actually, about the whole kind of crime fiction, literary fiction thing, which has popped up. It was
Yes.
Column 2 Bean, wasn't it? I think who made some comment about genre fiction,
Sending him to sleep or whatever it was, or just
yes,
not engaging him in any real
no,
or positive way.
to which I would reply, don't read it then.
Well,
And even less so comment on it. But James Patterson weighed in this week, and he said, I quote, "I could write literary fiction at a decent level, but no." This was in the Telegraph this week over here in the UK. Long, not very interesting article, but what made me laugh was the below the line comments. There were two. The first from a guy called William Posters, who says, how much does he write himself and how much is written by a team after being given the outline by him? And the second comment was by a chap called Stephen Perry, who says, more chapters than pages in this guy's books. And that's the entirety of the comment section.
That's it. This
nothing about the article at all. Just two comments
of the crime writing genre comes down to that. Well,
it's nothing about the article, nothing about the the sociological commentary that James Patterson was putting forward. Just two comments slagging off the world's best-selling writer.
Stephen Perry must be big fans of Colm. That's all I can say.
Yes, maybe they're aliases or something.
Yes, exactly. Well, maybe. Yeah.
There we are.
Fake news.
All very interesting, wasn't it?
Great. Well, listen, I'm going to go on to something that we've touched on before, and I'm going to touch on it again. I don't care. It's to do with adaptations of books to the stage, and indeed to other mediums, television and film. A production of Girl on a Train has opened in the West End for a short run, starring the ever excellent and incredibly versatile Samantha Womack, who is probably best known for playing Ronnie off EastEnders, although she's got a lot more on her CV than that. A very distinguished career. Anyway, she's playing the lead in The Girl on a Train, and the reviews, I have to say, in the city, certainly in London, have not been particularly kind, and this is something I've noticed again and again and again. I'll just read you a couple of opening statements of the reviews, and I don't like to be negative about anything, and I'm not being negative, I'm just saying this is what's going on out there. Nick Curtis in the Evening Standard said, "It could have been a great popular draw, a stage adaptation of Paula Hawkins' runaway 2015 bestseller and the subsequent Emily Blunt film. In fact, Anthony Banks' production shows why thrillers have pretty much died out in the West End. They make awful theatre." Discuss. And another review from the stage, Tim Bano says, "Whatever magic made Paula Hawkins' thriller such a huge success, a million sold, bestseller record smashed, has been stripped away for the stage version." Now, I have read very positive reviews for this production. But it seems to me that there is... but I have read many, many negative reviews for thrillers on stage. Is it very hard? I think it is. I've done a couple. And it seems to me, I have a slight theory here about this, that very often the modern day demands for crime writing and crime writers is that they write novels of a certain length. I don't know what you'd say about that. It's usually about 80,000 if you possibly can. Yeah. That's ideal, and anything above that and not much below it. Now, this means that most books are quite dense and have an awful lot going in. Well, that's always been the case. But I did an adaptation of Peter James's novella, The Perfect Murder, and that seemed to work, not necessarily because I was in it. It was done very successfully with in a couple of other productions too, but it struck me that very often the shortness of a novella lends itself to better adaptation, particularly for the stage. There's less
and
to
for
put in.
screen as well. Much easier to turn it into a film from a novella than it is from a novel.
Yes. Now, and I say that because I have seen a couple of adaptations of full-length novels, And although parts of them were very good, I understood that there was just too much going on, and the adapter had to struggle with, sort of being true to the original book at the expense, I think, of theatricality. At times, it's not always the case. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago on this very subject, and he's a very successful writer and has indeed adapted himself for television. And he's also written several very well-received thrillers. And he said that he would never, and has turned down on occasions, never undertake to adapt a full-length novel, crime novel, to the stage, for the very reasons that I've just mentioned. And therefore, what he has done is he's always started from scratch and has written his story specifically for the 2-hour traffic of the stage. Now, I don't know where I stand on this really. It must be possible, but our stage adaptations, which are notoriously difficult and clearly not particularly well received, although they are very well received outside of London, certainly on tour. There's a big market for it. I think both here and in the States.
I think what it is there had to be a certain type of thriller for the stage. You can't do, for example, the big trend at the moment is for psychological thrillers. That's very, very difficult to put through, even in TV or any visual media.
Yes.
It's very difficult. A lot of it is internal thought. So the stage tends to lend itself to a certain type of thriller, that kind of, and then there were Narn, the Ghost Train, that kind of thriller where you are there in one set, in one area, and
written specifically for the stage, not adapted from another medium.
Yeah, I mean, and then there were None was a book, but works because of its setting, does lend itself very well to the stage.
Well, that's a very good point, because I was having this conversation with someone else, and they said, well, it's quite interesting. If you look at the vast majority of Agatha Christie's novels that are adapted to the stage, they are not overlong novels. They're not anything like the 80,000. They're more like 50,000 and less. So they are, in their way, possibly easier to adapt and to contain.
They are, yeah. I mean, I've because I write plays as well, I've thought about adapting mine, and I think there's only one out of 20-something books that I think could possibly be adapted, and even then it seems like far too much work to bother.
Well, so does this beg the question that really books, sort of crime novels as they are now, and the length they are now, and the complexity that many of them are now, should not be adapted for the stage? It's not so much a dilemma that happens on television, because there's usually a little more time. It's adapted over 3 hours or 4 hours or longer, although, I mean, the same criticisms apply, that it's not what the original was. So being totally puritanical about it, do you think that that books stories written for novels, crime novels, should remain, they are at their best as novels, because that is the medium that they were written for in the first place, and anything outside of that is watered down and distorted and sort of suffers from too many compromises?
There is that. I think also you can say story is story, and a lot of the time things can be adapted, but they're not going to be at their best if they're not in the medium they were designed for. You know, there are some notable exceptions, but on the whole, I think it probably is a very difficult thing.
Well, it's not a crime thriller, it's a play, but the Woman in Black, huge success on the stage, adapted.
Yeah, no idea why.
That's, I think it's brilliant.
God, no.
It's I mean, I've seen a couple of really terrific. I mean, the television one, I haven't seen the film version, but again, that was not a full-length novel. It's a short book. So anyway, this is something I'm just throwing out there, but which is not to say don't go and see a girl on a train, because I know several people who've been to see it and they've had a fantastic evening out. And of course, with Samantha Womack in the lead, that would be worth going for that alone. But anyway, I raise this issue.
Well, I've
again.
got a few segues I can go from that. I'm going to do them in this order.
Okay.
We were talking about Agatha Christie and some of the classics.
Do you think he slightly wriggles his bottom when he segues? I've noticed that really ever so slightly in his leather chair. So if you heard that noise, that's Adam doing a segue.
That noise of squeaky, sweaty bum on a leather chair. Yes. We you mentioned Agatha Christie Christie, I think I did, and we talked about some classic writers, and one of those, of course, is P.D. James.
Yes.
It's the 99th anniversary of her birth. She only started writing in her 40s, unbelievably, but to celebrate what is a rather obscure anniversary, personally I would have waited till next year, but on the 99th anniversary of her birthday, of her birth, 5 books by this English crime author one must read, says news18.com in a rather stilted style.
Getting in early.
Yes,
Getting in
maybe
first.
that's what it
really
is, yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
So they recommend Cover Her Face from 1962, which is the debut novel, the first introduction of Adam Dalgleish. Sleep No More, 6 Murderous Tales, a collection of 6 stories from 2001. The Children of Men from 1992, which was a dystopian novel without Adam Dalgleish, set in England in 2021. The Skull Beneath the Skin from 1982, which featured a female private detective, Cordelia Gray, set in a Victorian castle, no less, and a true crime book which she wrote with British historian T.A. Critchley, The Mall and the Pear Tree, the Ratcliffe Highway Murders from 1811, which she obviously didn't write then, but wrote in 1971.
Gosh, P.D. James.
That's what they recommended.
I once did a Call My Bluff with P.D. James, who was on the opposing team. Scared the hell out of me. She was, I was entirely intimidated. She didn't mean to. She was very, very sweet. But and of course, her first original Adam Dalgleish, the actor Roy Marsden, who did it first on television, is now the principal director for Bill Kenwright's classic thriller company, and he's got a production of The Lady Vanishes on.
Segued back into stage thrillers again, didn't we?
Well, yes, we did. Did you see that? I didn't even wiggle my sweaty. What did you call it? And that's an adaptation of a film. I don't think it's originally a book.
Well, of course, Bill Kenwright, before doing a classic thriller company, did the Agatha Christie thrillers on
For 10
stage,
years,
and
yeah.
I'm going to use that to segue into the shortlist for the 2019 Nio Marsh Awards, which has just been announced.
How do you do that?
Oh, I know. Another classic writer.
Broadcasting gold.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's all right. The BBC can call me anytime they like. I've got Tony Hall on speed dial. This is booksandpublishing.com.au, which is a website that gets inside the Australian and New Zealand book industry. It says the Nio Marsh Awards 2019 shortlist has been announced. These are the shortlisted titles in each category. We had Craig Sisterson on last year talking about them, didn't we?
Yes, he's a big mover and shaker when it comes to these awards, and as we say, spreading the word about New Zealand crime writing and indeed Australian crime writing, Southern Hemisphere crime writing. He's a great advococate of the talents thereof.
But it costs a lot to call New Zealand, so I'm going to do them this year. And I'm going to read them out.
He lives in South London, actually. You can manage that, couldn't you?
The joke doesn't work if you say that.
Oh, I see. Obviously, I've got to ruin his jokes now.
And the shortlist of best crime novel are This Mortal Boy by Fiona Kidman, Money in the Morgue by Nio Marsh and Stella Duffy. We spoke to Stella, didn't we, as well last year about her new book, which is quite rightly made the shortlist there. So Nio Marsh might actually win a Nio Marsh Award,
which
indirectly
is
here.
Bizarre. And great.
Yes.
But how long has she been dead now?
Quite a while.
Quite a while.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be collecting it.
No, but
Stella might have to do that.
Stella will do that. Well, that sounds, terrific.
The Quaker by Liam McIlvanney. Call Me Evie by J.P. Pomea, I think is how you pronounce that. The Vanishing Act by Jen Scheif, one of those. One for Another by Andrea Jacka. Crystal Rain by Kelly Linden, and Call Me Evie again is on that list for best first novel. Those last 3 were best first novel. A best non-fiction, The Great New Zealand Robbery by Scott Bainbridge, The Short Life and Mysterious Death of Jane Furlong by Kelly Dennett, Behind Bars by Anna Leask, The Cause of Death by Cynric Temple Camp, and I think I ballsed up that whole thing there, but all of those books are in some form on various
the
shortlists.
And what an extraordinary, great names for but the authors, apart from Cynric, I've never heard of anyone called Cynric.
Cynric Temple Camp, yes.
That's really good.
He sounds like a character from an Agatha Christie novel, doesn't he?
He certainly does, yes. Yes. Have you bumped into Cynric Temple Camp this week?
I love it. I think it's brilliant. And we were talking about stage thrillers. Ian Rankin has taken Rebus to the stage, and he was in the news this week. Boom, segue. In The Scotsman, they had an article by Rosalind Erskine saying top London chef to host lunch with Ian Rankin in popular Edinburgh restaurant this month. This month sees renowned London chef Neil Rankin and top Scottish author Ian Rankin jointly host a one-off lunch at Ondine Restaurant to celebrate their love of food and literature. That's early afternoon on 21st of August.
Are they related?
I don't believe so. It doesn't say that they are, so it probably would have mentioned it.
I would have thought so. Yes.
He was born in Edinburgh, Neil Rankin as well. So that's.
And what's the name of the restaurant?
Ondine, on the George IV Bridge.
Oh yes, I know that very well.
So it's
Ondine was recently named the best restaurant in Scotland at the National Restaurant Awards. So that's going to be
for the second year running.
Yes.
So I do like these strange mashups that tend to happen in this industry, and crime fiction and a high-end Edinburgh restaurant somehow coming together for an event. I love it. It's almost like pick two things out of separate hats and go, let's put those two things together. Yeah. And I think it's great.
Do you think we could pull that off in Ampthill?
We could try.
Sort of,
Costa Coffee. Go up there for an iced bun and read a bit of our book.
Yes. Tea cake at the teapot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a jolly mash.
Indeed.
Hello. What's this?
I was going to say I've got a couple more articles, but I can't think of a segue into them yet. So I might let you carry on, and if something pops up, I'll
I'll jump
great.
In. Well, listen. What I've got to do is I brought my own computer screen because I was slightly getting jealous of Adam's big one. That doesn't sound very good, does it? So here we go. I am going to do a shout out for one of our favourite writers on Partners in Crime, the Stephen Booth, who has his new book Drowned Lives out. It's in hardback at the moment, so you probably won't be able to get it on Okobo or any other platform, but you have to sort of buy it with its hardback. But anyway, it sounds absolutely terrific. For those of you who have not heard of Stephen Booth, he's an award-winning UK crime writer, the creator of Derbyshire police detectives Ben Cooper and Diane Fry, who have appeared in 18 novels set in England's atmospheric Peak District. His latest novel, Drowned Lives, is a standalone historical thriller, a story of hidden family secrets among the inland waterways of South Staffordshire. And I knew about Drowned Lives, but this week we've had a big emergency at a dam, Whalley Bridge in the Peak District in Derbyshire, and I saw a Facebook entry from Stephen hoping that all the inhabitants of Whalley Bridge are safe and well, and that perilous situation with a dam that looks as though it's about to burst doesn't do so. Anyway, Drowned Lives, as it happens, as we've just said, is set in the inland waterways of South Bedfordshire, and that particular dam is one that is not for drinking water, it's for the canal system. So Stephen will have some very good idea of the perils that are facing the people of that particular town at this moment in time. Anyway, Stephen's been a Gold Dagger finalist and Anthony Award nominee, twice winner of Barry Award for Best British Crime Novel, and he's got them all shortlisted twice for Theakson's Crime. If there's an award, he's been up for it, got it, nominated for it, and all the rest. He's a terrific writer, and this new book of his sounds great. But if you want to download a book as opposed to buying the hardback, start earlier in his
you do know that's a desk you keep banging.
Yes,
not a book.
I know. Okay, here we are. What is authentic? Oh, that's rubbish. Have we got a book I can bang?
Books? What would I have those for?
That sounds terrible too. I mean, let's.
Is there anything particularly you'd like?
I'd like a paperback, please.
A paperback? I'll tell you what. There's a couple of Peter Jameses here. There's a paperback and a hardback.
Okay,
there, so
right.
you can.
So this is the hardback. This is a.
Yeah.
Right, and this is a paperback. Can't believe we're doing this. Subtle differences.
That's what it's softer, isn't it?
So the BBC.
Of course, we haven't done this in a while, have we? This is the hardback.
Is that lovely sound?
Should we do the paperback as well? Just to
let's see if it has the same resonance. Not quite.
I think
you can't tell the difference between a hardback page flick and a paperback.
Well, there is one major difference between a hardback and a paperback.
What's that?
£8.
Well, there you are. You see, listeners altogether better informed about the nature not only of the crime-writing fiction industry, but also the nature of books in general.
It's about aesthetics.
It is about aesthetics. Anyway, what was I saying?
God knows.
I was trying to segue into wanting to get your squeaky bum going again.
That's right, nicking my tricks.
Into the fact that Stephen's books are available on Kobo and other major platforms to download and buy and what have you, and you could probably start at the beginning of his 18 novel series, which I've read several of them and I think they're absolutely terrific, the Ben Cooper and Diane Fry series. So get Drowned Lives now in hardback and download other of Stephen's books on, where would you recommend them to download?
Well, I think we probably should say Kobo.
Yes.
We are contractually obliged to do so.
But happily so.
Oh, happily so, yes, absolutely. We are both big Kobo fans, and that is exactly why we ask them to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'd highly recommend you go over to kobo.com, grab that book, Stephen Booth, on a title of which was...
Drowned Lives.
Good, because I wasn't listening. Head over to kobo.com, find that, and if you are a new customer to Kobo, enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout, and they'll give you 90% off of your first purchase, making your book incredibly cheap. And if you're an existing Kobo customer, you can use the promo code PARTNERS at the checkout to get 40% off of a select but huge number of ebooks and audiobooks, in fact, moving forward. The link for eligible books is in the show notes.
Oh, there we go. I've suddenly realised that I've just given a recommendation for Drowned Lives and haven't mentioned what it's about, so I'm going to do that. Set in and around the dark, misty canals of Lichfield, Stephen Booth's incredible new novel is awash with mystery. See what they did there?
Yeah.
When Council Officer Chris Buckley is approached by an odd old man demanding help in healing a decades-old family rift, he sends the stranger away. But then the old man is murdered, and the police arrive on Chris's doorstep, asking questions to which he has no answers. As Chris begins to look into the circumstances of the murder, he uncovers a deadly secret in the silt and mud of the local canals that he'll realise was better kept buried. So there we are, Drowned Lives. The Guardian calls Stephen a modern master of McDermid. Makes high summer as terrifying as midwinter. I'm not quite sure what that means, but there we are.
You can add bloody nice bloke from Adam Croft as well.
Isn't he just?
Isn't he just?
Anyway, so there we are. Mr. Stephen Booth, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all.
Yes. Well, I think we're just about there. I've got a couple of other news stories which I think I can save for next week.
For a rainy day.
Yes. Well, the banter won't be around as much next week because you're offed, aren't you? So
yes, I'm away next week, so you can actually look forward to the broadcast next week.
Well, hopefully we're going to have Rachel Amphlett joining us. I've not actually asked her yet, but I know she does listen to the show. So Rachel, you're up next week. If you could text me and let me know what day you're free, we'll sort something out.
I'm sorry, Adam. I'm hiking in the Peak District. I can't make it.
Yeah, don't go near Whaley Bridge.
So listen, it's been lovely. The holiday season is upon us. You're away tomorrow, aren't you, for a few days?
Oh, I'm going to see my parents for a couple of days. Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
In that very mysterious and extraordinary part of the country, which I know nothing about, having never been there.
Have you not?
No.
Well, it's easy to miss because it's only about 20 miles across. We are talking, of course, of Rutland.
Yes, well, Rutland. I mean, it's extraordinary. It is a bit of a mystery. The only thing I know about Rutland is that Stephen Fry went to school there.
Yeah.
And that's it. It is the smallest county, is it, in the UK?
It is, yes. And most of it is water because Rutland Water was created in the 70s. There's a big dip in the middle of some hills which they filled with water, and there are 3 villages still underwater there now, and it's I think one of Europe's largest reservoirs is now in its place.
So you may be coming back with your own silt uncovering. Uncovered silt.
They've got a beach there and everything.
Murder mystery. They've got a beach?
Yeah, there's a beach on the reservoir. It's a massive reservoir. It's like 20 miles round or something like that.
I see.
It's massive, isn't it? Yeah,
does
there's
that
a beach.
count as a real beach? I mean,
well, it's not tidal.
I mean, it's as far from the sea as you can possibly get, Rutland, isn't it?
Which is why they put a beach there.
It is the Liechtenstein. It is the Luxembourg of counties. So there's no navy. There's no lifeboat. Or there may be a lifeboat, but who knows? But they've got a beach.
They have, yes. P&O don't stop there. But
Rats.
but yes, there is a beach, so I'm gonna pop down there and mostly to the pub. Let's face it.
Yes.
So-
I wish you a very happy holiday time.
Thank you.
And best wishes to your mum and dad.
Thank you.
And I'll send you a postcard from wherever I am.
Yes, do.
I'm not quite sure at the moment.
You can see what you can get on lastminute.com.
As they said in Whitnell and I've got on holiday by accident.
Well, if you end up in Rutland, let me know and I'll see you in the pub.
Silence.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Dawes and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Faish. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.